Thank you
I hope
guys
the
so much.
pizza choice I made for you guys downstairs was acceptable. I hope that was all right tonight.
Yeah.
For you guys who saw me.
I don't even do the pasta. I drink the tomato sauce. Right?
So no more shots of alcohol, no more shots of Jaeger, shots of tomato sauce.
I've done enough of that for 2 lifetimes, and I'm enjoying life so much more without twisting myself up in a knot.
So we were talking about the the Foreigner 4 album, big anthemic jukebox hero. Now I know the name of anybody got the book, the autobiography, Jukebox Hero, in the house here? Look, pick it up. It's a great read, by the way.
I've got it.
You got it. There we go. I'm sorry, I didn't see it over there, John. But
Yeah.
but
Well, I did. Yeah, I didn't pay for it though.
see, that's the perks
Lou
of
gave
touring
it-
with Louis.
Lou
I have
gave
to have
it
a
to
talk
me.
with you about that.
Now, I've heard a couple different accounts of the story as far as how that came about with the one about a youngster and one about you. I've heard mixed account, I've heard your account. Like, what's the true story as far as Jukebox Hero and how that came about?
The true story is that I began writing that song in my basement at least 3 or 4 years before it was ever put on an album, and the story was about me at the Rochester War Memorial the night Hendrix played, and every time somebody would come in that back door with a guest pass, I would stick my head in there and see what was going on, until security would push me back out again, and I saw the audience going crazy, and I saw Hendrix playing, and every time I was able to get a listen or get a look, I would, and that ended up insane because at the end of the night, the kids started lighting the seats on fire.
At the War Memorial?
Yes, they did. It was insane, but that's the way I couldn't afford tickets for that. I was at a part-time job, and I was playing in a band where I didn't make any money. So any chance I had to see some of my heroes, it always had to be through the backstage door. So that was the core of the story. And then after the song was written and recorded, I see Mick's interviews talking about some kid in St. Louis that he let in, and that was the basis of how he wrote Jukebox Hero. And I'm like, what? But you don't want to.
You guys know the story about that.
It's really not worth it,
But also, 404, the Urgent, that iconic saxophone solo. Now, I heard the backstory about that, and that's definitely something that I know these guys would love to hear about, how that came about with Junior.
Well, we had the song mostly done, and there was that 8 or 12 bar break in there, and we thought about doing a guitar solo or a keyboard solo, and it just, it was okay, but it needed something more powerful, and the song just reeked R&B. It had to be something that gave it that flavor too. And we were looking through the Village Voice, which is like a New York City entertainment magazine, and we happened to see that Junior Walker and his band was playing literally 3 blocks away from where we were recording. So we threw our coats on and we ran over there and caught the last 2 songs of his set, and his son was the drummer. So we talked to his son. You think your dad might want to come over and play on one of our tracks? And then we talked to Junior, and he goes, "What's the name of your band?" And we said, "It's Foreigner." And he goes, "Oh, I never heard of you, but." He says, I'll come over and play on it, So he came over and took his sax out, and we had him listen to where we wanted him to play, and so then we started playing the song and punched him in at that spot, and he played a few little things, and after the solo was over, he started putting his sax in the case, and we're like, whoa, Junior, don't put your sax away, play it again. Play it again.
Perfect.
And pretty soon he had about 7 or 8 takes of the solo, and between the 7 or 8 takes, we built a solo that was just mind-blowing. You know the one in that song, and it's little pieces of a number of his takes, and it just builds into this screaming solo that's outstanding. So here we are, 3-4 months later, we're playing the LA Forum, okay? And the place is sold out, and we heard that Junior was living there, and we asked him if he would come up and play the solo on Urgent at the Forum. And he says, yeah, I'd like to do that. So we were all a little worried what he was going to play. So we introduce him, and he comes up in a pink, what do they call it? Like an ultraviolet pink that just flashed pink, you know. It was very bizarre, you know, and he had a hat on, hat cocked sideways. And we started the song, and when it came to his solo, he knocked it out of the park. It was an unbelievable solo. It sounded a lot like the solo that we ended up with on the record. It sounds like he listened to the record and then played the solo, you know.
So he didn't know who Foreigner were. He learned real quick who Foreigner was after that.
He's such a great guy, you know. He did pass away a little while ago, but from the times we met him and he played with us and stuff, he was the real deal. He was the real deal, you know.
That's amazing when you can find musicians you can vibe with like that. And
yes.
Speaking of which, want to play some music? You guys want to hear some music? Because I heard we're gonna bring it back to the beginning, or towards the beginning, right? 1977, 1978, that era. Yeah. Which one do you want to do first? Or do you want to surprise them here?
First time, yeah.
All right, feels like the first time, you guys.
We'll go all the way back. Where's Lisa? Is she here? I would climb any mountain, I'd sail across the stormy sea, if that's what it takes me, baby, to show how much you mean to me. Well, I guess it's just the woman in you. You bring out the man in me. I know I can't help myself. You're all in the world to me. Come on. And it feels like the first time. Well, it feels like the very first time. It feels like the first time. It feels like the very first time. I've waited a lifetime, and I spend my time so foolishly. Now that I found you, together we'll make history. I know it must be the woman in you. You bring out the man in me. Oh yeah. I know I can't help myself. You're all my eyes can see. Come on. And it feels like the first time. But it feels like the very first time. It feels like the first time. It feels like the very first time. Won't you open up the door? Open up the door. Well, it feels like the very first time. Yeah. Woo. Oh, baby.
Yes. Wow.
Thank you.
So speaking of the first time, was that the first song that you guys recorded on that? Like as a group, as Foreigner?
That's actually the first song I auditioned on when I auditioned for the band. That song was basically written already. Mick wrote that song, and we were in a studio when I'm hearing their demos of the song, and he played me the demo and was singing me the melody in my ear, and then he gave me the lyrics, sent me out in the studio, and told me to sing it. And you know, it took me a couple times through, but I did sing it. It turned out pretty good. And
Yeah, I'd say so.
and, that was just the demos, and we did that to a couple other songs, and those are the demos that we used to get our contract with Atlantic Records.
That's amazing. I actually heard too that you were the last singer to audition, correct?
Of about 30 singers.
What took him so long? Well, seriously, like, no, because I heard months before there was an incident. Well, not months, but a couple of years before, actually, with Black Sheep, your previous band.
Yes.
Coming back from where Massachusetts, correct?
From Boston.
From Boston, right?
From Boston Academy, we opened for Kiss, and we had 2 albums out on Capitol Records, and we were scheduled to do the whole Kiss tour, and we're driving the crew's driving our truck home on Christmas Eve, and they hit a patch of ice on the New York State Thruway, and went off the road, and the truck tipped over, and they got banged up a little bit, but the equipment was completely destroyed. And 2 days after Christmas, we were scheduled to be performing with Kiss in Florida, and we had no equipment or any truck to put it in. So we're begging our parents to help us out, and it was during a major recession at that time. That was 1975. And then we asked Capitol Records, our record company, to help us out. Now they wouldn't do that either. So unfortunately, we were dropped from the Kiss tour because we had no way of
playing music.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
And then 2 days after that, Capitol Records dropped us. And so here we were hanging around with no equipment. You know, we thought we had the world on a string for a couple nights, you know, and we were looking forward to building our reputation on the Kiss tour, and suddenly it was over, you know. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, Mick calls my parents' house looking for me, and I called him back, and he said that he had heard the Black Sheep albums and that he was putting a new band together, and asked me if I wanted to come and audition. And I thanked him, and I said, I have a band that I really believe in. I says, we hit a patch of bad luck. I says, but I said, this is what I want to do. I appreciate the call, Mick. And he goes, well, listen, he says, I'll call you back in about 3 weeks and see how things are going. So I told the guys in my band that Mick Jones called and wanted me to audition for the band. And they said, what are you, crazy? We're not going any place. We're done, you know. Go down there and audition. Maybe something good will happen. So when Mick called back 2-3 weeks later, I told him I'd like to come down and audition, and I did. And apparently I was the last audition of about 25 or 30 singers, and they didn't tell me I was in. They just kept saying, "Can you come back and rehearse tomorrow?" And then the next day, "Can you come back and rehearse tomorrow?" And finally I said, "Look," I says, I've been here about a week now. I says, I only brought 1 pair of socks and one change of underwear. I says, you got to tell me, am I in?
And you were in. I mean,
I was in, yeah.
It's amazing, like the series of life events, how they will change your path in life. And the fact that Foreigner would have been Foreigner as it was, if not for a patch of ice on the New York State Thruway, and getting home to Rochester that night. And speaking of life's events, I'm so glad to see you doing well.
Thank you.
You know, for those of you who don't know, you were age 37 when you discovered you had the tumor, the brain tumor?
Actually, it was 47.
47.
47, yeah.
Okay.
1997.
And I mean, and you know, it's amazing. Like I was reading the story, the fact that you were watching an infomercial late at night and you found out that.
Yeah, I started having short-term memory lapses and started waking up with brutal headaches in the morning, and I hadn't been drinking or drugging for 8 years, so I knew it wasn't a hangover. So I went to my doctor, and he did an MRI and found a non-cancerous tumor in my right frontal lobe, about the size of an egg, and it had tentacles that were wrapped around my optic nerves and my pituitary gland. And he basically told me he would operate, but he says my chances of survival or living a normal life were very slim. And then he sent me to a friend of his in New York City who he thought was a spectacular brain surgeon. So I went down there and had more MRIs done, and the doctor called me in his office and told me that he says that I should go home and put my affairs in order. So I went home thinking that I had been diagnosed by one of the best and was found to be on death's door. So I did go home and I did start putting my affairs in order, and I happened to see on I think it was 60 Minutes, a segment on a doctor in Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston who operated on inoperable brain tumors using a laser, and they showed how he had saved people's lives that were basically written off. And at the end of the segment, it gave his office phone number. So about 7 a.m. the next morning, I was talking to his secretary and told her my situation. So that was a Tuesday morning, and she told me that there had been a cancellation on Thursday, and that I should fly to Boston on the Tuesday. And Thursday morning, about 4 in the morning, they were wheeling me into the operating room. And the operation was 19 hours.
God works in mysterious ways. You know, you heard that, the cancellation. And
Yeah, but you know, the next 8 or 10 years after the operation were living hell. Because I still had memory lapses. I had such massive steroids that I ballooned up. I think I weighed about 140 pounds, and I ballooned up to about 285 pounds. And that's the way I stayed for the next 6 or 7 years of my life. And I was performing with Foreigner.
I couldn't imagine what you'd have to go through just to psych yourself up to go out there every night.
You know, when I would take the stage, I'd see people look at me and go, you know, like who the hell is that, you know? And then I'd hear shouts from people in the audience saying, you better slow down on the pasta, Lou, or something, you know, really cold comments, you know, and the review.
And meanwhile, they had no idea. I mean, they didn't know the backstory.
They had no idea.
Yeah.
And the reviewers were slicing me up pretty badly too, you know. And there was really nothing to do. I really didn't want to perform anymore, you know. But after about 7 or 8 years, they started knocking back the amount of steroids they were giving me, and the weight started coming off. So to this point, I've lost about 110 pounds.
And obviously we're glad to have you here. And do you think, I know Mick Jones, he went through his own health scares as well. Do you think both of you going through such trying times with your health was a catalyst in rekindling your relationship? Because you kind of, you know, anybody who's gone through some trials and tribulations health-wise in life, these small things, I think, start to mean even less and less once you get through something like that.
Yeah, when we finally reconnected after over just about 10 years, I left the band in 2003, and we were nominated and inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
That was a few years ago, but that was the first time we had seen each other and talked in over 10 years. And we were inducted together, and they also wanted us to perform. So we kind of mended fences. And it was just so nice to have my friend that I spent a career with, be my friend again.
Yeah.
And in the time that I wasn't talking to him, he had gone through his own hell, with quadruple bypasses and things like that.
I know he moved down here with his son for a while. He was staying down here in Miami.
Yes, he was. He was kind of trying to recover, and so I think his outlook on what I went through was a little more compassionate now that he had been through something, that was scary too. So we've mended fences, and our friendship is very strong.
I think next step, we got to get Foreigner in the Hall of Fame here, right?
Well, we'll see.
That's long overdue. But speaking of reconnecting with Mick and getting Foreigner back, I know you've been doing some shows.
Yes, we have.
Here and
a lot
there.
of fun.
What's that?
I says it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, and in fact, you guys should check it out. March 15th, coming up here real quick. Live from the Rainbow 78, the concert movie going to be released.
That's going to be awesome.
That must take you back when you get to see that. Huh?
You know what? The first time I heard it, I had forgotten that it was recorded.
Yeah.
And when I started hearing it, I go, where in the world is that from? And Mick's going, don't you remember we did this in '78 at the Rainbow? And I go, oh my God, And then I'm seeing footage of it and stuff, and it's so cool. We were a band that was about 2 years old then.
Already 2 albums in, 2 successful albums in.
2 successful albums, but the energy was so frenetic and just crazy. We were somebody should have sedated us, I think. just a little bit.
Yeah, but shall we take it back to 1978? You guys want to do that right now?
Why don't we do that? I've got to tell you, I've had such a ball playing with John. We've connected and we have a lot of things in common, and his band is excellent, and they're all great guys, and I have so much fun performing with them.
Let's hear for John and Jeff one time too, you guys. I feel bad. I've been asking Lou all the questions over here,
They say that about you as well, Lou, The feeling's mutual, dear fellow.
I'm hot-blooded, you check it and see. I got a fever of 103. So come on, baby, do you do more than dance? I'm hot-blooded, hot-blooded. Now listen, you don't have to read my mind to know what I have in mind. Now, honey, you ought to know. Yeah, you ought to know. Well, you move so fine. Let me lay it on the line. Well, I want to know what you doing, baby, after the show. Well, it's up to you. We can make this secret rendezvous. Just me and you. But I show you loving like you never knew. Baby, you never knew. Well, hot blooded, and check it and see. I got a fever of 103. Come on, baby, do you do more than dance? I'm hot-blooded, hot-blooded. Oh, listen. If it feels all right, maybe you can stay all night. Girl, you don't need my key. You've got to give me a sign. Come on, some kind of sign. Tell me, are you hot, mama? You sure look that way to me. But are you old enough? You be ready when I call your bluff. Is my timing right? And did you save your love for me tonight? That's right. Well, I'm hot-blooded. You check it and see. I got a fever of 103. Well, come on, baby, do you do more than dance? I'm hot-blooded, hot-blooded, hot-blooded. Yeah, every night. Hot-blooded. Girl, you're looking so tight. Hot-blooded. Well, you're driving me wild. Hot-blooded, hot-blooded.
All right.
Woo!
You know what Amazing. Keep it going, you guys. Keep it going. And you even had more cowbell for us. More cowbell.
I can't begin to tell you how old this thing is.
Yeah, how many shows, how many concerts has that seen?
What's that?
How many concerts has that seen right there?
I think it's seen about 15 years.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, we're not going to give that away.
No, they sound better as they get older, you know?
But we are going to give away some tickets. I heard we got the ticket box, so let me pull a name here.
I think we should give away Jeff Coleman, actually.
I'm available.
Frankly,
You just volunteered him?
I don't know about Lou, but I've had enough of him, really.
We got any takers? We're going to do a auction, like Groundhog Day when he does
Yeah. First prize is a night with Jeff. The second prize is 2 nights with Jeff.
It gets worse as you go.
You know, I was thinking about Hot Blooded. I always loved the fact that it has like 2 extremes, you know, because you get Cold as Ice and you got Hot Blooded. So the Hot Blooded with the rendezvous with the girl after the show, and then what'd she do to piss you off to get her, you know, cold blooded? What happened there?
Cold-blooded, I like that.
Or cold blooded, yeah, cold as ice. What made her cold as ice after that? Or are we talking about a different girl? Was it a different girl?
It's always a different
It's always a different girl. We got the ticket box. We're gonna do a little giveaway. I thought we were gonna do that. No, in a minute we'll do that. All right.
Who's got the hat?
We got the reach into the hat. No, but how many of you guys have seen Bohemian Rhapsody? You seen the movie? Can we do that with Foreigner? Can we get a Foreigner movie? I mean, I would love that. Who has to sign off on this? You and Mick are on good terms. Everything's good. You could sign off. We need a Foreigner movie, I think. Exactly, just like the book. Yeah?
I don't know about that.
Don't know about that? No. But did you see the movie, Bohemian? Because I know you had.
I did. I loved it.
You probably played a few shows with those guys.
Oh, we did. Big shows.
Now, another show that I heard about. Actually, my mom grew up down the street from Silver Stadium in Rochester, New York.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it used to be there, but I heard a nice little Silver Stadium story about another pretty big band from Boston. I heard a little something.
Yes,
about
we our first headlining show with Foreigner in Rochester was at Silver Stadium, our baseball field, and it was a pretty good sized field for a minor league team. And it was supposed to be, I can't remember who the opening act was, but then it was supposed to be Aerosmith, and then it was Foreigner. So the opening act plays, and they were good. People are all pumped up. It's a beautiful night. And then Aerosmith was supposed to be setting up. Their trucks weren't there. The bus wasn't there. And the people are starting to get rowdy. So the promoter comes over to our manager and goes, "Dear God, help me. You know, this could be really bad if the kids get PO'd, you know." And we're like, "What do you want us to do? We're the headliners here." He goes, "Couldn't you just go up and play your set now?" And we were like, "Man, I don't like that idea." He goes, and he goes, "But look, you could see the kids. They're really getting PO'd, you know." So we're like, "Okay, you know," and so we set up our stuff, and we start playing. Kids are really into it. We're in the middle of our first song, and I look over my shoulder and I see the Aerosmith buses coming in. So this was their way of headlining the show
At your home stadium.
in our home stadium.
That's amazing, amazing. You know, I almost forgot. You guys have any questions? You guys want to ask me a question? We're going to go, all right, right here in front. We'll start here.
So you brought it up with the new movie about Foreigner. If they were to do a movie, who would play you?
Good question.
Oh, jeez. Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman. You know, I was going to say,
The young Pee Wee Herman.
I was going to say Ed Sheeran, but we got to get him to speak in an American accent. I could see Ed Sheeran, right? Okay.
What's that now? Oh yeah, I was a huge Beatles fan. Kinks, the Stones. I love Humble Pie and Traffic and Free. You know, there was so many good bands. You know, definitely influenced me as a songwriter and a singer.
And Scott Mooney brought a lot of those bands over. The famous DJ when he was on WNEW, and they started the
Scott Mooney,
FM format, which these DJs were AM DJs, and they earned a lot of money, and they went to do a job that paid a lot less, but they didn't have to have a guy controlling what they played.
That's right.
And that really was a huge, it was kind of the second phase of the English invasion.
Yes.
Back here?
Have you met Scott?
Yes, well, I did a really cool thing. We went to actually do an interview with Scott on WNEW, and I'm actually writing a musical about it, actually. It was in, because I know the day that he died was actually on my birthday, it was 29th September. But we went into the radio station, and they said, "You've got to sign this NDA while he's alive." And I went, "What do you mean, the non-disclosure agreement?" And they said, "Yeah, because he's not here." I said, "Well, because he's here, he's on the radio every weekend and he interviews all these bands." He said, "Well, no, he's in a convalescence home. He's had a stroke. He's had no insurance, so we kept running the show. We go in and get some new clips off him in the hospital, and we chop together bits of stuff from old interviews and make out that he was there. So right at the end of his career, he was there, but he wasn't. And
That's so sad.
it was very sad. But it was really good that the radio station WNEW at the time actually used his fee to pay for. He had no insurance to pay for his in the convalescence home.
It's great when you pull back like the Wizard of Oz, pull back the curtain, and you get to see everything happen. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't do that here, by the way. We're all live and local here, radio. But you had a question back there?
Yeah, my question is about songwriting. It seems that there was an era of songwriting that was great, and it seems to have passed. Do you still write songs? Do you still get into trying to put a sound out there that's uniquely yours?
I still enjoy writing songs like you wouldn't believe. And, you know, what I'm going to do with them, I have no idea, but to write a song and feel good about it being finished and know that it means something is just a feeling like no other, you know?
And Lou and I share a lot of things in common, and one of them is like old equipment. You know, this whole new digital age of auto tune and recording everything into computers. I know when we talked last time, Lou still had a huge Neve mixing console and a studio.
Yep.
You still got it?
Yep, and 2 Studer machines, both.
Yeah, two tape machines, yeah. And it really changed everything musically, because people now, it's like, oh, we don't have to be in the same room. You can just send me your part in from California
It
or
happens
wherever.
all the time, too.
And that ruins the whole, 4 people together in a room doing a take and then doing another take, then chopping between the 2 takes or whatever. And you get one take that really gels. It's a recorded performance. Records these days are not recorded performances.
Piecemeal.
Yeah, piecemeal.
Can you write a hit song? Can you still do that?
It depends what you mean by a hit song now. I mean, unfortunately, the industry has changed so much with radio, with record sales. Now, even iTunes are thinking of changing to be a complete streaming company. And streaming basically gives an artist very little income. In fact, Peter Frampton went to Congress, and he had something like 700,000 downloads, and his payment was like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It was something small. I don't know the amount, but the streaming and the new digital formats has really hurt bands' careers. But the only kind of good thing about that is that people like us can go out on the road and play still. So it gives us a career life.
But you know what's wild about that is look at like Instagram, for example, or you look at people like I don't like the auto tune. I want to do what Roger Troutman did, or take it back to the old mixing consoles. It seems like everything that was old becomes new again. I mean, kids putting filters on photos on Instagram that are all grainy and say 1982 on the bottom of them or something crazy like that.
And there's great people like Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you have seen his movie of finding that original mixing console in LA, and he's very much an analog guy in it, and it shows.
When I bought my board and my recording machines in Nashville in the early '90s, and the studio that. Foreigner, we were actually in Nashville working on some songs, and the studio that we were working in had just bought new digital consoles.
And the Sony and the Mitsubishi tape recorders.
Yep. And they had no place, or there was no interest in the analog boards, and seriously, they were just about putting it out in the street, and I bought it and had it all packaged up and sent to my house, and I didn't pay a heck of a lot for it, but I rescued something that was just a beautiful piece of equipment, and Lord knows what would have happened to it if they left it on the street.
And a piece of history, imagine all the people that recorded on that, and thankfully now some of those machines are worth a lot of money because it's 360, like you were saying, with the filters and everything, that on photos that people are wanting, that the body needs an analog world. It doesn't need ones and zeros.
Yeah, Technics released the turntable again, the 1200s, after taking it off the market.
And vinyl is seeing its biggest increase in the last few years.
And the Neve boards and stuff like I have, Rupert Neve, who was the purveyor of those boards, English, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Started putting out two Neve EQs in a hard shell case, so that people who were using digital boards could take those Neve EQs and use them in conjunction with the digital board for a vocal or something in particular that they wanted, that analog warmth, you know.
It's amazing because it's like it used to be their standard, and now you're adding all these extra parts to make it sound like what it once sounded like. It's wild, but
And he's selling those the EQs. They're in huge demand now. I figured out that if I tore my board down and broke it up into 2 EQs each and sold it off, it'd be worth more money than if I sold the whole board as one piece.
Yeah, they're parting them out. Lots of equipment.
But I couldn't do that, you know. It's such a beautiful piece.
that's amazing. I like radio guys. I think that's why we get along, because we like all the old equipment and stuff. But I could talk to you guys all night long. But I know, you know, we get you guys out of here in a couple of minutes. I do want to ask real quick though. A big song here on Easy 93.1. I want to know what love is. Your only #1 hit, both in the UK and in the US. Now, I heard it was with a little help from the New Jersey Mass Choir and a higher power, too. I heard there was a few different takes, and when you finally got it right, it was after you guys, you know, got all together.
Well, it was the choir and the choir leader that the choir was in the live room, and they got together in a circle and held hands and said the Lord's Prayer. And then they started singing. It made your short hair stand up.
I'd bumped into Lou quite a few times on the road before, or we'd always be doing like an interview in somewhere in Germany, and Foreign had been in before, and eventually I had a show in Vegas, and I got Lou out to do it. And we'd gone out to lunch day before, and he'd been telling me, you know, about all the health issues that he'd had and everything. But what that night was, we'd actually got a 40-piece gospel choir from a church, and we had them on stage behind us. And Lou came out of this smoke, out of this vault on the stage in Vegas, and we started, I Want to Know What Love Is, because we didn't rehearse with them for it. So it was just on the night, and I'm Lou standing next to me, and I'm just tears rolling down my face, and the goosebumps from hearing a huge gospel choir and the power of that song. It was just amazing.
I saw that. I thought it was the smoke.
Yeah, what?
Oh, I love it. You guys want more of this? You want more music tomorrow night?
Where's my drummer?
Tomorrow night, Casino at Dania Beach, of course. They're going to be out there, stage 954. Again, thank you to Lou. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please put your hands together.
Thank you guys so much. You've been great.